very, very beautiful of Moses. And also, we're going to learn how great it is to love another Jew, another human being. Let me just get the Torah for a second. You see that? What do you think the Torah ends with? Really, how does the Torah end? Right? Because when you end some book, that's actually the very important part, how the book ends. So when you look at the Torah, actually, the last 8 psukim, the last 8 verses of the Torah talks about Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses dying. So here's a question, I'm saying, who wrote it? Did Moses write it? How could he say Moses died when he's alive? Or did Joshua write it? So it's an argument in the Gemara. One man, Damar, says Joshua wrote the last 8 verses of the Torah, but the halacha is that Moses wrote it. And how come he says Moses died if he's alive? So one of the answers that because he was in pain, feeling the pain, that he's going to die very soon. So it's as if already his death started. So really he's not writing a lie in the Torah. But anyways, when it says Moshe died, at the end, he talks about the greatness of Moshe. Let's go through it in Hebrew and we translate in English. It says, "V'lo kam navi od beYisrael ke Moshe." There will never be a prophet as great as Moshe. What was the greatness of Moshe? Asher yedo Hashem panim el panim. He knew God face to face. And Rashi explains, anybody else that got a message from God, even prophets, their body would tremble. How could you talk to God and not tremble? Moshe was so familiar with God that when God spoke to him, they were like two friends. Moses didn't tremble. He was able to speak to God and stand like a strong human being. So that's one greatness of Moshe, that he was bigger than any other prophet. He spoke to God face to face without trembling. That's advantage number 1. Number 2, it says, "L'chola otod v'hamuftim." He made miracles and wonders that Hashem sent him to make these miracles and wonders to Egypt, land of Pharaoh. So he made miracles. That's his greatness. Another greatness. Besides being the biggest prophet, he made many, many miracles and many wonders in land of Egypt. Ulchol yad hachazaka. It says he had a very strong hand. What's the strong hand? That he was able to carry the tablets. The tablets were made from very heavy gem, sapphire. It's not normal for a human being to carry 2 tablets that are heavy. But it says Yada Chazaka had a strong hand. He was able to carry, the tablets with him. And then it says at the end, Ulchol Hamura Hagadol. It says he did. It says that he made these like this. Mora Hagadol means the awesome things. What are the awesome things that he did? Rashi says the miracles that he made in the desert. Not only in Egypt, whatever, the man, all these miracles that he made. Then it says, Asher asa Moshe le'nekol Israel. Another great thing that Moshe did, he did something in front of the eyes of the Jews. Now, what's a great thing that Moshe did in front of the eyes of the Jews? The Torah doesn't say. He did something in front of their eyes. What's that great thing? So see what Rashi says. Rashi brings from a Medrash. It says, Shenesa'o libo, his heart carried him, lishvor haluchot, or his heart raised him. To break the tablets in front of the eyes of the Jewish people. That's the greatness the Torah is saying. What's the last thing the Torah says? That it says he did something in front of the eyes of the Jews. He broke the tablets in front of their eyes. When he came from the mountain, he saw the Jews worshiping the idol. He took and break it in front of their eyes. Shneimar, how do you know this was done in front of their eyes? Because Moshe Rabbeinu himself says, "Va'ashabrem le'enechem." I broke the tablets in front of your eyes. And then it says at the end, Rashi, so this is what the Medrash says. Rashi brings from another place, God agreed with him that Moses did a good thing to break the tablets. How do you know God agreed with him? Shneimar, because another place God says, go make me a new tablet, because the first tablets, Asher Shibarta, that you broke. Now, Asher also means, you guys went to Ashkenazi places? How do they say thank you? Shkoyach, right? Shkoyach. Right? So it says Asher Shibarta means Yishar Kochacha, thank you for breaking it. So according to Rashi, according to the Medrash, what are the last words of the Torah when it talks about greatness of Moshe? That Moshe broke the tablets. So all the commentators, they have a problem. One of the great his name is Rabbi Eliyahu Mizrahi, or we know him as Re'em. He's one of the great commentators of Rashi. He says, I don't get it. When people die, you usually talk about the good things that they did. Right? You go to any funeral, God forbid. When you go to a chat, to Shiva, somebody that passed away, what do people say on top when they speak? Even if he had sins, nobody is without sins. But I talk about the good things that he did. He was a kind person. He gave charity. If he was a doctor, he took many patients without insurance for free. I'm saying he was a lawyer. He saved many people. Right? They don't talk about how much money he made. They don't care about those things. So here Moses is dying, and God is telling him to write the last words. He says, write in the Torah that you broke the tablets. Isn't that a terrible thing? And don't forget, the first tablets were much higher than the second tablets, because the first tablets, who cut it out from the mountain? God himself cut it out. And then God wrote the 10 commandments on it. The second tablets, Moses cut it from a mountain. God only wrote the 10 commandments on it again. So the Torah is telling us, look, what a chutzpah, seemingly. What audacity Moshe Rabbeinu had, that he went and broke the tablets. That's terrible. Imagine somebody goes and takes a Sefer Torah, throws it down on the floor. What kind of praise is that? It's a very, very strong question that a commentator has asked. Go ahead.
So you're going to explain it within the context of Asher, meaning thank you?
So the Re'im, so hold on, very good point. So the Re'im says, this is what was bothering Rashi. That's why Rashi adds a couple last words that God agreed with him. God said it was a good thing that you broke it. So yeah, the breaking of the tablets is not a good thing, but what's the praise of God? What's praise of Moshe? I'm sorry, that God agreed with him.
You should break.
Yeah, the agreement that God agreed. That means, okay, what Moses did, God agreed. That's greatness of Moshe. That's what he wants to answer. So he's saying that's what bothered Rashi. How could the Torah end with the breaking of the tablets? It's a bad thing. So you say, you're right, the breaking of the tablets is a negative thing. But the fact that God agreed with him, that shows the greatness of Moshe Rabbeinu. That's what he wants to say. But other commentators have a problem with his explanation. Because if you want to show greatness of Moshe, that God agreed with him, there were many other places that God agreed with him. When God wanted to destroy the Jews, Moshe said, don't destroy them. I pray for them, save them. God agreed. You don't have to bring a breaking of the tablets that God agreed with him. According to many commentators, God wanted to give the Torah on the 6th day of Sivan, the 10 commandments. Moshe said, no, the Jews need an additional day. That's according to Rabbi Yossi in the Gemara. So God said, look, I'll give you another day to prepare. God agreed with him. When Moses separated himself from his wife, Moshe, after he became a prophet, he decided to separate from his wife. It says clearly God agreed with him. So why do you have to, if you want to show the greatness of Moshe, that he did things on his own, and nevertheless God agreed with him, why do you have to bring a case that he broke the tablets? Bring another case that God agreed with, the prayers that he did, he convinced God to save the Jews, and that's much greater thing. So because of that, I have this serious problem with the explanation of Rabbi Eliyahu Mizrahi. Is it clear so far? Right? So this explanation is not bad, but again, there's a little bit of a problem there. Why bring a negative thing that he broke the tablets, and the only good thing is that God agreed with him? There are a bunch of other places that whatever Moshe did, and God agreed with him, and he didn't do anything negative. So you see, because of that, we have to go back. Why did Moshe break the tablets? That's what we're going to study. Rashi brings two medrashim. In two different places, Rashi brings two explanations why he broke the tablets. The first explanation that he brings is, Moses came down from the mountain and he saw the Jews worshiping the idol. Now Moshe says, I don't get it. It says if somebody is an idol worshiper, he can't bring the Paschal sacrifice. When Pesach comes, they used to bring a sheep as a sacrifice, and they used to eat the meat. If somebody worships idols, he's disqualified to bring a korban Pesach, the sacrifice for Pesach. So Moshe Rabbeinu said, if they can't even, they don't deserve to bring one korban, one sacrifice. Here, all the Jews are worshiping idols, right? And they should receive the Torah for sure. They don't deserve it. So he took the tablets and he broke it. He broke it because the Jews don't deserve it. That's one explanation that Rashi brings. Rashi brings a much deeper explanation somewhere else. Rashi brings an example when Moshe made when God wanted to write the second 10 commandments, he tells Moshe, you cut down the stone. Why didn't God cut down the stones himself? Why did Moshe have to cut down the stones? So look at this beautiful example Rashi brings. There was once a prince. He fell in love with a girl, and he gave him the engagement ring. And he said, I'm going to come back and get married to you. By the time the king left, there were a bunch of, what do you call it? Servants. I'm talking about women servants, whatever, that were there, and they started doing adultery with some of the other male servants. So the name of this princess came out to be bad. The king thought that this princess did a sin. So what am I gave you the ring? How could you sin? Go with another man. So he came to kill her. So this princess really didn't do the sin. It was the servants that did it, the maid servants. What happens is the servant of this princess was very, very loyal. So when he gave the ring, there was a ketubah to a marriage contract. So he went and he ripped up the marriage contract. So he told the prince, you can't kill her. She's not your wife. I ripped up the ketubah. There's no ketubah that she's your wife. So then couldn't do anything because there was no proof that they're married. So then later on, when the king found out that really the princess didn't do anything wrong, he wanted to get remarried. So then the servant of the princess says, okay, so write another ketubah. Says, no, 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 no. You ripped up the paper of the ketubah, you bring the paper. And I'm going to write on it a new ketubah. I guess it was a very expensive piece of paper. So the same thing God says, when the Jews worship the idols, it wasn't really the Jews. The minority served the idols. Most of the people that served the idols were the Egyptians that converted. You know, it says a huge amount of Egyptians came out of Egypt. You know, when Jews are doing very well, a lot of people want to become Jewish. You know, like in times of King Solomon, many people wanted to become Jewish because the Jews were, you know, like the leaders at that time. Go ahead.
I don't know if this is true, but I once heard that the remaining Jews in today's world are most likely those people, descendants of those people.
Some of them, you see, yeah, the ones that are like
I thought everyone.
self-hated Jews. That's again, we don't know. They say that because there's a Zohar that says before Mashiach comes, a lot of Jews are called the Erev Rav, the
Yeah.
mixed multitude.
Exactly.
But again, I have no knowledge in that. Who they are, I have no idea. But anyways, so look over here. Who really worshipped the idols? Not the Jews. It was the Egyptians that converted. But then the name of the Jews came out to be bad. So God wanted to destroy the Jews. You promised that you're going to worship me. Now it's like you went after other husbands, so to speak. So, and then where was the ketubah? What was our marriage contract? The 10 commandments that God says, I'm your God. You cannot have any other idols to worship. So that's why Moses took, he was the servant of the Jews. He took the 2 tablets and he broke it. He told God, I didn't give it to the Jews. They're not married to you. So then later on, everything was clear that the Jews are not the sinners, or the converts. So then Moshe says, okay, so give them the tablets again. God says, no, 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 you broke it. So you're going to cut down the stones. I'm going to write the 10 commandments on it. That's what Rashi says. So according to the first explanation, Rashi says the Jews didn't deserve it. It's not an honor of the Torah to be given the 10 commandments to Jews that worship idols. The second explanation says that Moshe did it to save Jews that maybe they worshipped idols. Now, which one is the main reason why he broke the tablets? Let's think. Is it because the Jews didn't deserve it, therefore he broke it? Or is it because he wanted to save the Jews? So definitely to save the Jews. Why? Because if you say the Jews don't deserve the Torah, is not honored to receive the 10 commandments, why did you break it? Give it back to God. In other words, if you say it's not honor of the Torah to be given to the Jews that worship idols, what, breaking is the honor of the Torah? You know, Rabbi Wai says a very interesting story. He says, imagine a man went and he bought a $50,000, whatever, necklace you call it, diamond necklace for his wife. And he sees his wife was not faithful. Isn't he crazy to go rip it up and throw it in the toilet?
Yeah.
Go give it back and get your $50,000 back. Why did you break it? So here Moses says the Jews don't deserve the Torah. Why break it? Give it back to God. But if he said the reason is because he wanted to save the Jews, so he broke the tablets because this was the ketubah, the marriage contract for the Jewish people. He broke it and said, I never got married to you. That's why he really broke it, to save the Jews. Now we understand what the Torah is saying. The question is, what is the greatness of Moshe Rabbeinu? Is it his attachment to the Torah, or the fact that he's willing to sacrifice the Torah to save Jews? That's a question. And the truth is, I think we spoke about it once. This is a very, very old school question. There are 2 things that are very dear to God. One is the Torah and one is the Jewish people. But amongst these 2 things, which one is more dear to God? That's an honest question. Is the Torah more dear? In other words, right? And really, the Jews are worth nothing unless they study the Torah? Or is it the main thing is the Jew, and the Torah is to bring out the potential in the Jew? That's the question. Maybe the Torah is the main thing, the Jew is worthless unless he studies Torah, unless he's connected to God. Or is the main thing the Jew? Except we need the Torah to bring out the potential that we have. So this question was asked by Eliyahu Navi from Rab Anan. There's a man, his name is Rab Anan. He was one of the great rabbis of the Gemara. And he says that Eliyahu Navi came and he taught him a lot of Torah. We have that book, by the way. It's called Tana Dve Eliyahu, what we learned in the yeshiva of Eliyahu Navi. So he asked Rab Anan, didn't know the answer. So he says the whole world says that the Torah is the main thing. But I say that the Jew is the main thing. And he brings a very beautiful example. There was a king. He had a prince, a son. And he had many, many servants. I mean, usually you like your young servants, right? That it could work very much, very hard. There was an older servant that the king liked more than anybody else. So they asked him, why do you like this old guy? So it says, you know why? Because he's the instructor of my son. He teaches my son. If not for him, where would my son be today? And Eliyahu said, God loves the Torah. Why does God love the Torah? Because he loves the Jews. If not for the Torah, where would the Jewish people be today? So it comes out, who's the main one? Is it the instructor or the child?
The tool.
It's the child.
Torah is the tool.
Exactly. The child is the main one. He loves the old servant because he's the instructor. If not for the instructor, where would the child be? Same thing, Eliyahu Navi says, according to him, the Jew is the main thing. But again, the Jew can't reach his potential unless the Torah is given. So that's exactly, it's a very old school argument. You still have these two schools amongst Jews. There are some people that look at non-religious Jews, they say they're not Jewish. If you don't keep the Torah, you're worth nothing. And you have some people, especially the ones that follow the Baal Shem Tov, that they say, no, the main thing is the Jew. The Torah is very precious to God because that brings the beauty of the Jew out. So now coming back, Moshe Rabbeinu was in a dilemma. He comes down from the mountain, right? And he sees the Jews are worshiping idols. Who do you think loved the tablets more than anybody else? We don't know the value of the tablets. We never saw it. And even amongst the Jews then that saw it, who knows the value of the tablets more than any other Jew? Of course, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses. No question. No question that Moshe knows the value of tablets more than anybody else. So he comes down from the mountain and he has a question. Should I keep the tablets and the Jews are going to be deserving to die? Or should I break the tablets even though I love them so much, but I love the Jews even more? I'm going to break it, so I tell God they never got married to you. That was the dilemma that Moshe Rabbeinu had. And that's what Rashi says, Nesa'o libo. Language of Rashi is, he had to raise his heart. What do you mean he had to raise his heart? So the Lubavitch explains that he had to bring up the love of Jews. He had to raise that more than the love that he had for the Torah. It's a really very, very deep thing. And because he brought out the love that he had for the Jews, he broke the tablets. With this, we answer the question now. You see, that's what the Torah says. The Torah is talking about the greatness of Moshe. What is the greatest value that Moshe had? First of all, he was the greatest prophet. But that's not the biggest thing about Moshe, even though he's the greatest prophet. Number two, made many miracles in the land of Egypt. Still, that's not the greatest thing of Moshe Rabbeinu. He made many miracles in the desert. They were great, but that's not the greatness of Moshe Rabbeinu to the top. It says he actually brought the tablets down. That's a great thing too. But still, that's not the highest level of Moshe. What's the highest level of Moshe that's dear to God? That he was ready to sacrifice the two tablets to save Jews that worshipped idols. That's the way the commentators are. But anyway, who says this? There was a Kabbalistic rabbi. His name was Rav David Pardo, I think. And his book is Maskil David, but he writes it very, very short. So Lubavitch Rabbi expands on that. The whole length that it brought from Tana de Eliyahu, is the servant more important? Is the child more important? So the Rabbi adds that, but it's really based on a very big Sephardi Kabbalist rabbi, Maskil David. His name is Rabbi David Pardo, I think. I don't think it's translated to English. But again, from here we see, when we look at another Jew, how dear a Jew has to be to us. No matter which level he is, even if he's almost close to worship idols. But he's the main one. By the way, Halacha says if you have a house burning, there's a human being in there and there's a Sefer Torah in there. Who are you supposed to save first? You can't save them both at the same time. The human being. It's a proof that a human being is more dear. A Jewish life is more dear than the Torah.
If it's a non-Jewish life.
You save the human being anyways. You definitely save a human being is a human being. A doctor is allowed to desecrate Shabbat. to save a life? What if the patient is not Jewish? He still has to save it. A human being is a human being. Remember that. They're not less human than us. We are not more human than them. I wanted to know that.
Like EMTs work on Shabbat and stuff.
They do. They have to. Even if an Arab, let's
Yeah,
say,
I'm saying my cousin.
okay, they save Arabs too. Doesn't matter. Arabs, Jews, same thing. You have to save lives.
Probably. What are some other ways that, like, you know, how you said doctors could break Shabbat? What are some other like circumstances that people would have to break Shabbat?
Lady giving birth, you're allowed to get into the car and drive her to the hospital, but you can't drive back home. You have to be stuck. Yeah, you have to be stuck in the hospital. It happened to my wife one time. I had to, my daughter, you know, when she was, some kids, when they get high fever, up to age of 5, they could get seizures. It's normal. It's nothing dangerous, but unfortunately. So, we just became parents on our second child, our daughter. So one Shabbat, she got seizures and started shaking. So my wife ran to the synagogue. I don't know how she got here. And it said she had seizures, so I had to drive home and then take her to the hospital. So as soon as I got to Kaiser, I couldn't shut the car anymore because it's not a matter of saving lives anymore. So I had to ask one of the security guards, I can't shut the car. He shut the car, and then at that time Kaiser wasn't under Obamacare, so there's a lot of empty rooms. So I said, listen, I'm a Jew, I can't go back home. So they gave me a room, actually, a bed, a room to stay till Saturday night. So that's enough to save a life. You'll have to
You couldn't lock your car?
We couldn't even.
I can't because of electricity. So
But isn't there like a law like, oh, someone's gonna steal your car?
okay, that you don't do that. So what happened is he actually locked it and he put it on the tire, the security guard. So after Shabbat, I took it back.
Nothing.
We didn't do that because it's
He hands it
muksa.
back to you, you can't
It's a muksa. I can't carry. You understand?
Wow.
What if you break
You're
it?
willing to give up your cars?
You break a bone?
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, listen. If it's dangerous, you got to save the person, of course.
like you could still drive the dog.
If it's dangerous, you do it. So I don't know, man. They say a joke. There was one time a kid that in the beginning, you were so scared when you have children. So he swallowed a nickel. So the parents rushed him to the hospital. When he got a few years old, they said, "Oh, you swallowed the nickel? I give you allowance a quarter less." That was a dumb joke. Don't worry about it. That was a Persian parent. I'm just kidding. Anyways, guys, so this was one thing that we learned about. I hope it was useful. I hope you learned something great from this. Go ahead.
I have a question also. So during Yom Kippur, I saw like somebody praying, but they were like just reading the English, not the Hebrew. So I was wondering like, what's like the significance of reading in Hebrew compared to reading it in English? What's the difference?
Okay, it's a very, very good question.
Can you do that?
It's a
Can I
ve-
add to that question?
yeah, go ahead.
Is it better to scan the Hebrew text? I think that's it, than to read the English and understand what's happening.
So it's a very, I mean, the short answer is better to read in English and understand that in Hebrew. But what's the advantage of Hebrew? So you see, what happens is there are many things that the main thing is the action, not so much the kavanah. Let's say you put on tefillin, right? Even if you don't know what really tefillin means, you put it on because God said so. You have done the mitzvah, right? Even though I don't know why God said so. I'm doing it because God said so. When it comes to prayer, prayer is called service of heart. It's not a lip service that I just say words that I don't mean. That's not called a prayer. A prayer is that really you pour out your feelings in front of God. Whatever that is, you love God, or because you have somebody sick that you're praying for them, somebody has no money to pay his mortgage, so really prays to God, it has to be from the heart. So then in that case, if it has to be from the heart, the main thing is that you understand what in the world you're saying. But the advantage of Hebrew is that the Hebrew words are connected exactly to those, what do you call it? Those conduits, the vessels that brings it down. What's a proof to that? There's the Gemara that says, in times of the, Shmoneh Esrei used to have 18 blessings. That's why it's called Shmoneh Esrei. The main part of prayers, right? That you stand and you pray. What does Shmoneh Esrei mean? 18. Why is it called 18? Because he had 18 blessings. Later on, he had a lot of informers amongst Jews that would go actually give the Jewish people to the government, the non-Jewish government, to kill them. So they had to make a 19th blessing.
Why would they do that?
Because they were giving the Jews in the hands of the Roman government, whatever, to get like Nazis, Yeah.
Jewish people were giving other Jews up to the.
Yeah, like in times of the Nazis, to save their own lives, they did it, whatever it is, to make money, whatever the case was. So anyways, what happens is, so they ask, who can make a blessing for the destruction of these informers. So they only found a man, his name was Shmuel HaKatan. So the Pnei Yehoshua was one of the big guys that lived 300 years ago. He says, what's a big deal about cursing people? Anybody, even, bring any lady that is not, or any child that's not educated, any man who's not educated. Just say, all these informers should die, should drown. What's the big deal? So it says we see that you have to have certain Hebrew words that actually draws down the energy.
To curse someone.
Whatever, anything, curse, blessing, whatever it is. That's what he says. He's a very big rabbi. So the advantage of Hebrew is that, the rabbis that made the prayer, they're holy people, they knew which words draws it down. But if I don't understand what word I'm saying, I don't have the main thing. The main thing is the understanding and the feeling. So if you really ask me, if you don't understand anything, better to do it in English. Go ahead.
Doesn't matter if you mix it. Let's say there's a part of the siddur that you know how to read fast, but then the other part you don't. So it's okay if you mix it, some Hebrew, some English.
That's fine. It's accepted. I'm not saying it's the best thing, but it's definitely accepted. All right, guys. So let's do just one more thing, and then we're going to go to eat. You see, one thing that I wanted to share with you people is the beauty of sukah, the specialty of sukah. You see, what's so
trying to get
yeah.
in.
You're telling me he's on time.
You want to open the door?
Yeah, don't be shy. Please come in. Thank you. So see, one of the things we're going to learn about, the specialty of sukkah, how special sukkah is. You see, guys, we don't have many mitzvot that actually surrounds your entire body. Let's say for men, you put on tefillin. Where do you put on tefillin? On the hand next to the heart and on your head. So even though these are very, very important limbs, the brain is very important. Next to your heart, it's a very, very important thing, but it doesn't really surround the entire body. Also, let's say when you put on a talit, the halacha is that a talit has to cover from your shoulder till your back. It doesn't cover the entire body. We have really no mitzvah that includes the entire body of a person. There's only one mitzvah, that there's two that covers the entire body. Let's say, when somebody goes to the mikvah, I'm saying in a situation that going to a mikvah is a mitzvah. You have to have your entire body under the water. It says even, let's say, he or she's under the water, and then there's a little blade of hair floating on top of the water. You haven't gone to the mikvah. Ladies that go to the mikvah after they get married, they have to take showers, comb their hair, because if there's entanglement of two hairs and water doesn't go in between, it's worth nothing. So actually, mikvah is one of the commandments that covers the body, but nobody goes to the mikvah with their clothes. It only covers the body. How do you go into a sukkah? You don't only go with your body, you have your clothing too. Not only that you have your clothing, the sukkah is your house the 8 days. You eat there, you take your plates there, you take your tables there. People that are super religious and actually sleep in the sukkah, they bring their bed there. So not only that it surrounds your entire body, right? Not only that, it surrounds your clothing, it actually surrounds the furniture of your house too. I don't sleep there because, Chabad and Bells don't sleep there. That's the reason.
Who?
Bells, two types of Hasidim, Chabad, Lubavitchers, and Bells. They don't sleep.
Lubavitch?
Yeah, Lubavitch, they don't sleep in Sukkah, but everybody else does. Ashkenazim, Sfarad, everybody else sleeps in the Sukkah. It's a big mitzvah, you know what I'm saying?
So wait, so there's two types of Hasidim? And
There's many types of Hasidim.
wait,
Hasidim are the people that follow the Baal Shem Tov. He had many, many students. Each one did their own group. You have tens of Hasidim.
who are the guys at the Western Wall were praying constant?
They put on tefillin on people.
The ones that are running all 24/7.
The ones that are they don't stop.
They all look the same, he said.
I don't know. You have to ask them.
They don't.
The ones that go around putting on tefillin on people are the Lubavitchers.
I don't know.
I know. I was at the
Guys in
court.
back,
The old groups, they're not one type. The ones that have white socks, they're one type of Hasidim.
What?
The ones that have, the black socks, they're different type of Hasidim.
Yeah.
Different types of hats. They're all beautiful. They're all wonderful. Anyways,
I don't think they like other Jews, honestly.
did you ever ask them? How do you know?
It's you
No.
ask them questions, they're
No, I mean, listen, you see me, I look like a very weird guy, with a beard, looks like I'm from 500 years ago, you know what? I'm chill with you guys. I'm okay. I love everybody. The looks, don't let the looks fool you. Right?
Feel that.
I look dangerous, but I'm not. I said I'm not Taliban.
No, what?
I'm not Taliban. I have a beard, but I'm not Taliban. I'm not a terrorist. They say a joke. I too. There was somebody in the airplane during the after 9/11. So there was this Jew and there was a non-Jew next to him was afraid. Is he Taliban? What's going on? He has a beard. So says, sir, excuse me, are you Taliban? He says, no, my name is Teitelbaum.
Oh.
He thought he's asking his last name. Teitelbaum is Ashkenazi last name. He says, no, I'm not Taliban. I'm Teitelbaum. Anyways, so going back, you see what happens in the sukkah, something very unique. You see, guys, we have three things. We have something that are called mitzvot, that are good deeds that we're supposed to do. There are certain things that are sins we're not supposed to do. Then you have something that is in the middle. It's not a mitzvah, it's not a sin. Going to work, that's not a sin. It's not a mitzvah either. Going to sleep, it's not a mitzvah, it's not a sin either. The uniqueness about sukkah is when you go and you eat inside the sukkah, that becomes a mitzvah. You're doing a mitzvah actually eating in the sukkah. When you go to sleep in the sukkah, actually comes out to be a mitzvah. So the uniqueness of sukkah is that even things that are just physical things that are not a mitzvah, when you do it in the sukkah, comes out to be a mitzvah. Isn't that amazing? But please don't go speak lashon hara in the sukkah, because doing sin inside the sukkah doesn't become a mitzvah. Either the mitzvah is a mitzvah or things that are permissible. Like, you know, you want to talk to your brother, how he's doing, talk to your parents about things that you're allowed to talk about. Could you believe that? Just the idle talk in a sukkah is a mitzvah. So this is the beautiful thing about sukkah. Go ahead before I finish it.
So are you supposed to sleep with your partner in the sukkah?
You're allowed to do it.
With your wife?
Yeah, get married and do that, no problem.
Oh, so you could
You don't go into technicalities. If you're asking deep stuff, yes,
alright.
but you got to be covered.
Oh, I got the sheet.
Yeah, this guy goes into details. Okay, when you get married, they teach you that. Now it's too early. Right now it's too early. I know. Right now it's too early to know.
Never too early.
I'm just getting married next month.
Is that
Maybe next week.
maybe
Yeah, okay.
tomorrow?
Yeah, maybe today.
Tomorrow you can. During the holidays you can't get married.
I'll postpone the invitation.
Yeah. Get married next Monday night.
Huh?
Next Monday night
Of course.
you can get married. But anyways, putting the jokes aside. So putting the jokes aside, you know what this teaches us? Sukkah teaches us something very beautiful. You see, guys, it's not only when you do a mitzvah you're connected to God. You could do things that are not even a mitzvah, but if your intentions are pure, are for sake of God, it turns out to be a mitzvah. You know, there's a book, Mesilat Yesharim. So Ramchal wrote it, Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. He writes that if you do mundane things, but you do it for the sake of God, you have relationship with God 24/7. Imagine somebody goes to sleep. I'm dead tired, I have no mood of nothing, I'm going to sleep. But somebody goes to sleep because he knows tomorrow I need my energy to serve God, to serve the community. So I go to sleep to have energy for tomorrow. So he's actually having a pure, godly intention. Somebody eats because he likes the taste. Somebody says, you know what, the taste is not so important. For me to serve God, I have to be healthy, so I'm going to eat. So if the mother makes korma sabzi, makes kugel, even makes fish, doesn't matter. The main thing is not what it tastes. I'm not saying eat bad tasting food. But I'm saying his intention is not, to have the better taste. He's eating to be able to serve God. The eating itself comes out to be a mitzvah. Somebody goes to work because he wants to have many zeros in his bank account. He just wants to become rich for no reason. So that doesn't turn into a mitzvah. Now, because you asked about getting married, imagine you go to work when you get married because it's a mitzvah to support your wife. It's a mitzvah to support your children. It's a mitzvah to support poor people. It's a mitzvah to send your kids to study Torah. So when you go to work, you have all these things in mind. Not because I want to have a bigger bank account. I'm going to work because I want to be able to support my family as God wants me to do. And I could support poor people, and I could actually educate my children to become good people for the society. While you're doing the business, you're connected to God. This is what Sukkah teaches us. A human being could be 24 hours in a very holy situation. It's not painful. No one is telling you to go study Torah 24 hours a day. But if your intentions are for God, even during eating, sleeping, business, you're having a relationship with God 24/7. This is a great lesson of Sukkah that we learn. You can always be connected to your God, no matter what. As long as you're not sinning, put it this way. I hope it was a good lesson. Thanks for coming, guys.